At one time, when after the accident, when some of the attendants used to gather around Sri Aurobindo in the evening, it was a kind of an adda, a session for gossiping, chit-chatting, discussing, and everything under the sun was discussed by the. So these people, half a dozen attendants, used to ask all kinds of questions to Sri Aurobindo, and she would answer them. They have been recorded by Nirodbaran and by A.B. Purani, and they are available as documents also. Now, Nirodvaran, of course, Shivandu did not have kind of knowledge of that. Maybe he knows at the back that this man may be recording, but he did not say anything of that kind. Nirodvaran has to go back home and take down the notes of their talks and discussions same evening regularly, and they were recorded, they were preserved. Later on, in 1950s, when Amal Kiran moved from Bombay to the ashram, and the periodical Mother India started from ashram, he started serializing all those talks in Mother India. There were certain papers connected with science, the group discussions which they had with science, and they were kept hanging. Amal Kiran was not able to make out certain things in that thing. So when I joined the ashram, Nirodharan gave me that paper, and he said, you please have a look at it and see whether it can be published, whether I have recorded, whether I have understood properly or not, and whether it can be published or not. That paper is still with me, what he has given. I said, look, there is something different, something new, but if you want to project this thing to the outside world, then it has a lot of flaws in it. And you will be kind of misrepresenting Sri Aurobindo in that process. I explained to him certain aspects of that whole thing. You say, 3 or 4 sheets of papers were like that, and then he understood what thing. I had a discussion again with Amal Kiran about that thing, and I explained to him like that. He also understood. So that paper was held back, that discussion was held back, because he says, look, whatever I had understood, I understood. Now we can't recreate that thing and rewrite and correct that piece of paper. It is not fair. One can do separately and independently, which is a different story altogether. But that cannot be said by Sri Aurobindo, from Sri Aurobindo. So let's not misrepresent in that sense. So like that, they were consulting me about certain matters, and I was more and more associated in that sense with Amal Kiran. All my poetry writings, he used to see them, he used to publish in Mother India, all along like that. Later on, due to his age, he was approaching 90. Due to his age, he was not able to look after Mother India as an editor, and he wanted somebody else to take over. And he chose me to take charge of Mother India for all his work, for all his editorial work. He chose me for that. And I became the associate editor of Mother India. Associate is practically equivalent to the editor himself, because Amal Kiran was not there. He was not. In fact, the problem with Amal Kiran became a little peculiar after one stage. He had very sharp understanding of things, of everything. Very sharp understanding. He could understand the nuances of things very easily. But then with age, what would happen is, you give an article to him, he will read the first paragraph, he has understood, he has followed whatever is there, but when he goes to the next paragraph, he has forgotten what is there in the first paragraph. So he was not able to connect certain things. So that became a problem for him. And then it is there, he said that please you take care of all those things. And he used to consult me all the time. So that is how he grew me up to be an editor and brought me up all that, you see. So I was working in Mother India as an editor of Mother India for 8 years, while I was also teaching in the school simultaneously. So that is how my certain part of ashram activities got associated with his literary and journalistic vision. But this is one angle, one aspect of the ashram life. The other is physical activities. Again, I was fortunate to have very intimate personal relationship with a real big man, Pranab Kumar Bhattacharya. I was doing physical exercises directly under him, and it is he who really inducted me into proper physical activities. Physical activity is a part of sadhana. The body has to be prepared to receive the higher power and higher light. You should be able to hold the power which is entering into you. It has to be prepared. It is not simply tightening your muscles and this thing, that thing. It should be open, it should be receptive. On one occasion, he told me, after good exercises, you are perspiring, you are completely wet and all that thing, you just sit down here and you will realize in that quiet that it is not that you have done physical exercises, but something of Satchidananda has entered in you. That is the quality of physical exercises we should get cultivated in us. Open yourself to the direct spiritual, highest spiritual force to enter and let it work in you, see. Let it work in you. He said that you feel as if you are floating in Satchidananda. The body feels like that. And he was really like that. And that is why the mother chose him as her instrument for physical progress, or the body progress. The base which is required for the supramental man, it is Pranab Kumar Bhattacharya, who was the founder, the initiator of the physical activities to carry out that thing. I had the fortune of getting associated with him. He was very fond of me. He loved me also. And whenever I used to go to him, he used to receive me very happily, very gladly, very joyously, all that, you see. On many occasions, he used to give me special presents and gifts like that, you see. On one occasion, we invited him to our house for dinner, and he agreed to come here. Normally, Pranab Kumar Bhattacharya, given by Udar Pinto, they used to have their dinner with the mother together in her room there, you see. So given I knew the eating habit of Pranab, so he told my wife, yes, I am very happy that Pranab is coming to your house for dinner, but be ready, he is a big eater. He is a big eater. He is fond of Karela, very much on that thing, you see. Be careful about that, you see. So she prepared accordingly the dinner and all that, and Pranab spent a lot of time in our house, and then we spent a lot of time. So that is how my physical activities also developed along with that, you see. So that is another session of my life in the ashram. Now I am myself approaching 90. I will be completing 90 in another 2 months. I am passing through a certain stage of health and all that thing, but that doesn't deter me. And if I can continue here, I can prolong, possibly for a long period also, see. But basically, what I would like to do now is to focus more and more, not on this, I will not say exactly external, but the secondary kind of parameters of operation and work. I would like to go to the fundamentals of things in my own way. I told you just now, Agni is a form builder. If I am a student of material science, I should know Agni. I should invite Agni, ask him, please guide me, take me forward. It is he who will build the material base for me for a new type of creation here is him. In fact, in one of our talks, the mother says that the new race, new man will be formed by Agni. By Agni. She says that it is a psychic being in us which will materialize. It is that which will create a new species, new man, new type, new matter. It is psychic being. Psychic being is the divine fire, divine Agni in each individual. That individual Agni, it is that which will materialize and produce a new form of you. See? So my prayer will be, my constant longing, yearning will be to open myself more and more for Agni to work within me. I think it is one of those things which prompted me, or I was kind of pushed or guided or unknowingly taken over there, that I picked up the first sukta hymn of Rishi Vamadeva in the Rig Veda, the first hymn of devoted to Agni by Vamadeva, and I got a thick book on Vamadeva. Can you please get that book? This one. The first hymn of Rishi Vamadeva, addressed to Agni, first hymn. In fact, all the first hymns of the Rig Veda by every Rishi are addressed to Agni, and then follow other gods. But first hymn by each Rishi is addressed to Agni. Vamadeva's hymn is something absolutely of a different quality. It is he who tells me that Agni is within us. He calls it the immortal in the mortal. Agni, the immortal, he is in us as immortal. And it is that immortal in the mortal who is working and preparing this mortal for his new birth into immortality. And it is constantly going on. So I picked up that hymn and I have written this book. This book has each richa, sloka, I got his elaboration, given discussion, and written as some kind of a summary of each one in my own way, analyzed the Sanskrit of it in my own way, and presented that thing here. The point which I am trying to make here is that it is this Agni, while you are studying physics, you have to understand poetry of it. You can't understand Vamadeva without knowing poetry. The symbolic language, the rhythm, the movement, the chanda, the meter, unless you have got that kind of way, and the way they are recited, unless you have some kind of understanding of the thing, you can't understand poetry at all. Vamadeva also. So my one big chapter running into 60, 70 pages is devoted about the poetry of the Rig Veda. Unless you get the grasp of poetry aspect of Rig Veda, you can't understand, enter into Rig Veda at all, you see. Now, I think that chapter, the poetry of Rig Veda, is perhaps for the first time anybody has attempted to present the poetry of the Vedic verses. Yes, you have studied Veda, you have tried to understand the substance of it, you understand ritualistic parts and all that thing, but you have not understood the poetry of it all. I think it is for the first time that is what we have got in this book done, and that is exactly what is pointed out by a person who has written the foreword for this book, person no less than David Frawley himself. It is David Foley, the Vedic scholar, who has written the foreword for this book, and he has pointed out that this is for the first time that this aspect of the Vedic poetry has been kind of presented and emphasized, which is not there at all anywhere in the world. And he also says in the foreword that people have studied Rigveda from this angle, from that angle, many ways and all that thing. But to go into the various aspects of Rigveda through one single hymn, one single sukta of Vamadeva of 20 slokas, and open out the windows and doors and whatnot of the Rigveda is something very unique in this book, is what he says. So that way I feel happy that something has been done in life. But I see that this is perhaps still not really enough. My urge, my thirst, my yearning, my longing, my trouble also, so to say, will be how to realize that Agni working in me. It is that which will drive me and take me forward. I am after that. I want that Agni to come and kindle my whole being. It is not that after you are dead, you are buried, you are put on the fire and that, well, that Agni is definitely purifying you. But now when I am living or when I will be living in the next life, it is that Agni which should work within me. It is that urge which is kind of taking me forward, not only now, but perhaps surely in future also, in my future prospects and future life also. That is possible. If I know that Agni very well, and I think I'll be more and more in that sense associated with Mahavishnu working as Agni in matter. Mahavishnu working as Agni in matter. If it is that kind of a connection I can really seize upon, then I'll be happy that I have lived successfully in my life. By the way, let me tell you one interesting incident. A few years ago, I was in Italy for a month. Shall I continue? Yeah. I was in Italy for a few months, for a few weeks in Italy, and I lived in Christian monasteries there. Complete Christian atmosphere and all that thing, but not traditional and dogmatic, which is open to new possibilities. And was very happy to interact with people like that, you see. And such that I tell you, when I was living in one particular place, in a mountain area, remote from civilization, I went there late in the night to that place. I was taken there late in the night to that place, and there was one gentleman who had come from England and who was staying there. We were talking and discussing. When he found that I was Marathi, he pulled out from his bag a book in Marathi, and it was the Abhanga of Tukroji. He was able to recite and chant those things, you see, in a Christian monastery. He was able to, he said this was, and then he was very happy. We were able to exchange our things like that, you see. So you see, what will happen, we can't say this thing. Things are working in their own manner. I remember, per se, absolutely no way of knowing anybody at all. He comes and shows me a Marathi book about Tukroji Maharaj and he's reciting those Abhangas there. Suddenly like that, you see. How it happens? How it happens? And I was there. So I was trying to talk to those people about the way Christianity has to be seen in light of Sri Aurobindo. What for Christ stands, they don't know. They don't know. When you tell them what Sri Aurobindo has spoken about it, the way you look at Christ through him, you really see the real Christ. And you feel justified. He is saying that Christ is one of the avatars. He lists in these essays of the Gita, Krishna, Krishna, Buddha and Christ. Three avatars, Krishna, Buddha and Christ. He lists three avatars. You can't imagine again the kind of a civilization change which Christ has brought about. The world is different altogether. The entire Bhakti movement which you see throughout the world, even in India, is after Christ. The strong currents of Bhakti, the oceans of Bhakti which are there, they are after Christ. You can't see the kind of thing. That is how a person, a power works and works. Same thing. In fact, in the essays on the Gita, Sri Guru says that although historically Krishna came before Buddha, but spiritually the work of Buddha precedes the work of Krishna. Spiritually, you see. Now, these are kind of deep things, and people don't understand that thing. One has to enter into the spirit and really try to grasp that thing. If that can be done, then you really understand the future of man, the possibilities of the tomorrow, how things will change, why love is required, why agni is required. All those things one can understand that thing. When I was again in Italy, I was going from one place to the other. My guide and one who was taking me around, she said on the way we'll meet somebody, some important person. So she telephoned her from the car and fixed up an appointment that on the way we are coming to your village and we'll have a session with you, Gabriel, her name. The appointment was fixed by Alexia with Gabriela, they were friends. So Alexia took me to Gabriela on the banks of Arno River, near that village. Very beautiful, nice river and all that thing. And we had a long session for more than an hour or so there. And I was talking and all that thing. And she was telling me that you are a very good communicator. That Gabriela was telling me that you are a very good communicator. Alexia had told me that this lady has very deep, occult understanding of things, occult knowledge of things, and she is kind of in touch with those things with Gabriela. She had told me while we were driving towards places. Then after my communication, she said that perhaps in your past birth you are Dante. I said, I don't know. I don't know. But when I was in Florence, of course I wanted to make a point to visit Dante's place. So we had gone there. His house is standing there. I went and touched the wall of the house there, very close by the river Arno, where he met that famous lady who he has immortalized in his Divine Comedy. And he also showed me, took me to the place where right opposite his house is a church. So Dante used to go to that church. So I was taken there, and he said there he used to, that kind of a thing, you see. So that personal relationship was there, that kind of a thing. That is something which gives you hope that maybe the future can open out in a different manner, you see. Now, we want to build up on that. It's not to be just a hope. You have to build up that will. You have to build up your will to see that your hope does get materialized. And your effort, your what you would call sadhana or what you want to call it, tapasya or whatever it is, should be to build your will to achieve what you are hoping to get done in life and in existence. Well, I am there for that, and let me see how much I can do that. See, I can tell you one thing. There are very, very, very few persons, absolutely very few persons, not even 0.1% in the whole worshiping population, who know what to pray. People don't know how to pray. People don't know what to pray, how to pray. Now, if because you have not discovered yourself, you don't know what to ask. You don't want to say, I want a big house, I want this laboratory, I want that. That is not a prayer at all, that is a demand. People don't make a distinction between that, a prayer and a demand. People don't know how to pray. Now, my prayer will be to build up myself, that will, which will achieve something which I hope to have for me. Thank you very much. I'm sorry if I kind of dragged on.
Very, very deep,
Pardon me?
deep introspection of very fulfilled life.